All right.
Hey,
good morning.
welcome to the Toolshed. Hey, this is the place you can stop by for about 15 minutes a day that'll make every job just a little bit easier. The Toolshed is brought to you by Schedule Engine.
Wahoo.
And today's episode, all about the big rocks of life, is sponsored by our good friends over at Emerson. Today's a really good episode. I hope you enjoy it. Eddie, I'm excited about today.
I'm pretty excited too. For what it's worth, you're my big rock in life too.
Oh.
Now we're gonna get to the stuff here. It's live. Okay, we got a bunch of stuff to go through, and all joking aside, this is perhaps one of the most important lessons. I know I was embarrassed by how old I was when I figured it out, and so let's just jump right in, and we've got a ton to cover. So. First thing to talk about is, you know, as many of you know, we have a Facebook group, and there's people joining every day, and there's tons of back and forth in there, usually at my expense, but that's okay. That's why we're here. But here's what we want to talk about. There's an old radio show called Car Talk, and they used to have a section called Stump the Chump, and we love click and clack. And so what we're thinking is we may, in like 2 weeks, depending on some of the questions, we may actually have our own version of Stump the Chump and an homage. And what we do is I'll post something in the group today or tomorrow, and what we want is Jerry talks about the curveballs. Send us your hard, non-technical. And let's keep it real. Like, what do you do when it's landlord-tenant? What do you do when they need to call the son? Or I've had one where they're like, let's pray. like what are the ones that have just left you stumped? That's what we're here for. Bring them to the tool shed. If we can't figure it out, maybe someone in the group can. Cool. Second thing. All right, it's Wednesday, and that usually means question of the day. And I'm going to post in the group as soon as the show's done. The question of the day is, how much have you spent personally on tools for your job so far? And don't worry, you can create a fake social media account if you don't want your wife knowing. That's fine. But I'm curious, and there's a reason that we ask. Like yesterday, Nick Lamb, one of the awesome shedders, he posted in the group that there's a charity that usually gets people dressed for success, ready for work, and it's usually suits and ties. He's taking part in that, and if he wins, he wants all that money to be used for blue-collar clothes. So you know how hard it is for a decent pair of work boots that protect your ankles and steel toes and high-vis and all of that. So we want to go support that. But also, can you imagine, I know some of you cats have like your first set of screwdrivers and you've upgraded to the Kleins or the Wehas or whatever. I know you got your first set of gauges hanging around, your old tool bag. Can you imagine if every company that's watching this put together a starter tool bag? We want to talk about that. I'm going to post in there, and we want to see who can do the best job, because then what we can do is we can connect with someone in need in the area, or better still, the local trade school, and let's get somebody ready to work. Let's solve this labor problem at the tool shed, and more to come on that. Next, someone that knows all about tools is another guest today. We have Gary McCready, HVAC know-it-all himself. He took the time to put together a little video. It's all about getting ready for summer, and he's got some great pointers. So let's see what Gary says. Roll the tape.
Go to the video.
What's up, guys? Gary McCready from HVAC know-it-all. It is a beautiful day out here. It's supposed to rain the rest of the week, so we're taking advantage today to do a couple of PMs on some package rooftop units. Now, I want to speak to the cooling startup aspect at the moment. We're doing our cooling aspects. It doesn't matter if it's residential or commercial. A lot of techs want to jump straight to the compressor, start them up, and see how they're running. But if we don't have the fan running properly, it's not going to matter how that compressor runs. Whether it's residential or commercial, we need to make sure that that system is moving the correct amount of air. In residential, a lot of techs like checking the static pressure of the duct system. It's easy to do in residential, not so much in commercial, because the ductwork is usually up in the ceiling and it's hard to get at. But let's check those blower wheels, make sure they're clean. Let's make sure we have no bearing issues. Even a little piece of insulation on a blower wheel can cause the whole thing to be off balance and cause excessive vibration, which is not good for any moving parts within that system. So bearings, pulleys, belts, using a belt tensioner to make sure the belt is tensioned correctly, and just making sure we have adequate airflow before we move on to starting up that compressor and see how that runs. Anyway, guys, that's just a quick message for you guys during your cooling startups. I hope you guys stay safe. Happy HVACing.
All right, now there is a guy that has a system. We talked about it yesterday, right? Gary McCready. Find him on YouTube, Facebook. He has his own apps that's a community of technicians exchanging ideas. I'm sure they probably even let plumbers in. Too soon? All right. No, go ahead.
Hey, but he has a system. Like you can
habits,
see that.
You know?
He has a process, and like that's what we talk about here.
Yeah, that's exactly. He's putting it into practice, so go ahead and check him out. Last thing before we get to Jerry's Big Rocks, I want to give a shout out to someone else that is getting ready for summer and visiting us every day at the Toolshed. It is Stephanie and David Postal from Hero Heating and Air in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, down your way.
South Kakalaki. Representing.
As the locals call it. Okay, and the team, Cedric, Kenny, Clinton, and Kevin have been watching and coming along for the journey. They're making sure they're ready for summer, knocking the cobwebs off, and making their job a little easier. So we're glad you're here, and let's hear what Coach Jerry has for us today, because I'm excited about this one, buddy. Take it away.
Good. Hey, here's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about time and time management and taking care of the big things in life. And so if we think about it, like there's all type of things that go on during the day that we think is important and we have to take care of, and sometimes we don't take care of the most important things, and we all have a limited amount of time. And Stephen Covey talked about like you should take the most important things and prioritize those things, and that way they become the most important part of your life.
Love it.
Right?
Covey.
And he wrote a pretty good book that if you haven't read, the 7 Habits of Highly Successful People, that might be one you want to check out. I know you're a big fan. I've got the poster in my office at home.
Yep.
Hey, that's a cool thing. So let's talk about like
what that looks like.
Time management,
Yeah.
what that looks like. So this jar, although it looks like cheese puffs,
I want to ask where the cheese puffs went.
This should represent time.
Right.
Right, and so time is limited. We all have 24 hours a day. We all have 7 days a week. We all have 365 days a year. And like we know guys, and maybe you were that guy, maybe I was that guy, where we said, hey, I work 40 hours a week. I work 50, 60 hours a week.
80 if it's summer.
I come home, I spend a little time with the kids. I eat dinner, I watch a little television. It's time to go to bed. And that turns into a habit.
Whether you like it or not.
And
you're
so
making
all of
habits.
this goes back to what we talked about yesterday. And so let's just think about this. So the sand, we'll put the sand in first.
Right.
And the sand is all the little things in life that maybe aren't important. They're kind of meaningless. Like, and they might be emails, or they might be phone calls, or this might be Netflix.
Right.
Or scrolling on social media, or every time my phone pings because something on social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, like it's always there. We wake up and it's the first thing we check. It's the last thing we look at before we go to bed. And those things just take up a lot of our time.
I'm guilty of that,
and we
buddy.
all have limited amount of time. All right. The little rocks, they represent things that are a little bit more important.
Okay.
All right, and these might be like tasks that you do every day.
Okay. Yeah, we've all
Right?
been we wake up, we do our to-do list, and we
And
like,
there's a lot of these,
Oh, there-
and you have to take care of these. And listen, if you don't take care of these, there's consequences to it.
for sure.
Right? And
Stuff doesn't
sometimes
get
you kind of gotta shake things up a little bit, but we can get these rocks in here. Right?
You did that well, Jerry.
I've been practicing. And so listen, if we get all the small things in here, and we get all the tiny things in our time frame, we don't really have room for the big stuff like goals and family, right? And maybe charity And that, like, there's just no room. I can't put my friends in here because I spent too much time.
You squeeze them like it's the weekend and you're tired, and maybe if there's
Yeah.
time we'll get together.
And so we have to, and Stephen Covey talks about this, like you got to take care of the big rocks first. And so I'm going to give you that one. All right. And so let's talk about this for just a moment. If we started over and we put the big rocks in first,
All right.
we took care of our health.
That is so undervalued. Like the number of texts that are like, oh, I have a physical job and I'll get to it, and then it just, January 1st comes around and we never got to it.
Right, and it goes back to that what we talked about yesterday about forming habits. We got to put our friends in here. We got to take care of our family, right?
So important.
We got to you got to have a good work.
Yeah.
You got to have meaningful employment in life, right? And do it with good people, right? And so we might want to move it around a little bit. You got to have goals. And listen, your rocks may be a little bit different than my rocks. I like money.
Yep, I like money.
But I like money that like you can do for charity.
Yep.
And it's not, the money is not the bad thing. It's
you can
just
give
what
it to
you
your-
get to do with it.
Yeah,
And I
your
like
church,
living
whatever.
indoors and
Yeah.
having running water, And if you take those big rocks and you put them in first, you can take the same amount of big rocks and you can take the same amount of the small rocks and you can arrange your time. Now,
I see what you're doing.
again, you have to move it around. You might have to move it around a little bit. You might have to arrange a few things. Right, look.
I see where you're going. So you got your big rocks in there, the stuff that you really want to get done. You've got the stuff that's good to get done, the tasks and stuff.
These are important. You got to get all of these in. But listen, if you get the big rocks in first and then you get the small rocks, the important things that have consequences, you can take the little things and they will go in as well.
Okay.
If you have time left over for some, maybe it's a hobby. Maybe it's a Netflix show.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, all right.
Maybe
or
it's
a Facebook group you want to join.
maybe it's the Toolshed group. Maybe it's binge watching. Maybe it's
Maybe it's your favorite sport team.
whatever
on a
it
Sunday.
might be. But listen, if you take care of the big things, it's amazing how you can take care of all the things in your life. Just like that,
That's pretty
Eddie.
cool, man.
And it's really magical when you prioritize the important things in your life, how much you can actually get done.
That's like some
Short
Penn and
and
Teller
sweet,
stuff right
isn't
there.
it?
But it's so interesting because if we took a poll, and listen, we talked to enough technicians, plumbers, craftsmen in our time, and we know that every one of them has the desire to do the right thing with their family. Every one of them, if you ask them, sure, I'd love to save for my kids' college. I'd love to, lose 15 pounds so that maybe I can spend those golden years in retirement taking walks and traveling instead of like getting my 12th knee surgery or whatever it is, right? And what I hear you saying is it's not a question of what we're doing, but maybe a question of how mindfully we're prioritizing stuff. I saw you be very intentional about that.
Yeah, and I know you've practiced this
Yeah.
for a number of years, and it's really made a difference. This is one productive person here, by the way, right? But he prioritizes what's important to him, and it's time with the kids and time with the family and finances and health
and goals. I love good. I love the trades. I love the careers. We get to do stuff like this. What I realized early on is that being home with my kids every night and sitting on the couch and they're in their room wasn't the same to them or me really as taking them for breakfast for 35 minutes. Just one-on-one, once like I used to alternate, and it wasn't a big deal. It was just a local diner, and it cost me $4. Cash was pretty tight, but that intentional time was like super important, and it allowed me to then. We talked about making deposits so we could make withdrawals, so that when the summer's coming, we're going to be on call, right? We're going to be, and that's our companies look after us, we look after our companies. That's just the way it goes. But those Saturday mornings allowed me to stay out till dark. Fixing air conditioners.
little quality time versus
absolutely.
quantity time.
Oh my goodness, we could do a whole show on that. Yeah. So what's the takeaway for this?
Hey, really, the big takeaway is just focus on the big things, and I'm going to challenge you, right? This is our challenge to you today: is take a moment today and write down your 5 big rocks. whatever they may be, but write them down. Don't just think about them. Take a minute today and write down your 5 big rocks
I
and
like
say,
that.
hey, I'm going to prioritize this.
Right, I like it because 5's a good number. Like if you end up with 35 big rocks, you probably did it wrong. Like it's about being intentional and making choices. So and it could be, again, our list could be different from yours. We're all at different seasons. We're all at different times of life. So if it's faith, family, finances, fitness, education, giving back to the church, whatever it is, but pick them. And maybe, if we're lucky, some people will share them with each other and encourage each other in the group. I love that, Jerry. Really, really well done. Well, that's it. Time's gone again. Where does it all go here at the Toolshed? Tomorrow we're gonna do a recap. We've talked about habits. We've talked about systems. Champions are intentional. So come back tomorrow. Maybe Jerry will pull a rabbit from a hat. Who knows? We got Carrot Top and Penn and Teller. And
I love props.
Props to you, man. So listen, join us in the Toolshed, the place where life, work, whatever gets a little bit easier. Sponsored by Emerson and brought to you by our good friends at Schedule Engine. We're glad you're here. Bring some friends. And Jerry, as always,
be good out there so you can do good out there. Have a great day. Thanks for coming by the Toolshed.
Boom! Solid. That was solid, man.